Good evening, everyone. It's just me, the captain. Right, so we are going to talk about engine failure. Catastrophic engine failure that happened to me and Lapom on the Norfolk Broads on this trip. We got a few good shots. As you can imagine, we didn't get too many photos because El Capitan here had to go into an emergency mode. So this is what happened. I hope you enjoy it. It's a little bit short. I will try and explain it as things developed. Right, so obviously at this point you've seen the other video how I damaged my leg. At this point we did not know it was broken. So we're cruising up the Broads. Lovely sunny afternoon, 24 degrees, calm, a little bit of wind. There's a little bit of high wind, but nothing we couldn't deal with. So anyway, we're going past Thurston. And as we're going past Thurston, I hear a metallic twang. And I look back down the boat because that's a noise that I have not identified before. And it was only a sharp metallic twang. And I look up and down the boat, so what was that? Maybe I ran over something, a bit of debris, it happens, wood, whatever. Anyway, so everything's running normally. And then, about 10 minutes later, scanning the instruments, as any good captain will do, my oil pressure's dropped a bit. I was like, as the engine warms up, oil pressure does drop. When your engine starts up, you're pushing 6 bars of oil pressure because the oil's quite cold and thick. Fully operating temperature, about 2 bars of pressure. So anyway, I'm down to about 1.5 at this point. I'm like, 1.5. Could be running a little bit hot. Maybe got some weed on the intake. Maybe the engine's overheating. It's worth a call later once we moor up. Bear in mind, in this particular area, there are no moorings. Okay, so this is the worst place that this was going to happen. So anyway, we continue on our way. Anyway, so we're cruising up the river, and keeping an eye on the instruments. The engine temperature's normal, but the oil pressure's dropping. So sometimes the electrics go out on the boat and the gauges drift. So turn off the engine, restart it, resets the electrics, resets the gauges. So we're cruising down there, switch it off, switch it back on quickly. Engine's running normally, there's no discernible engine note change. But the gauge is still saying the same thing. So buy the book, and they give you the book, and they've all the phone numbers in. What we're meant to do is moor up, which we're in no position to moor up at all. Right in the middle of the River Brew. We have one option, and that is to steer at a bank and use the mud anchor to moor up, which is exactly what we did. So we drop the mud anchor, and I go to make a phone call. Remember, it's quite windy this day. So, without knowing which way the wind was coming from, because we're not a sailboat, unfortunately, the stern of the boat started to swing out into the middle of the river. So Lapom's up there on the stern, directing traffic away from us, of which one lovely couple came past and went, "Oh, if you're sinking, you can come on our boat." We're not sinking, but cheers for the assist. So anyway, I managed to phone the guys, and they would call me back once they get hold of an engineer. In the meantime, I realised, look, we are in not a really good position. We are like jackknifed across the entire river, and we got sailboats coming up and down. We got other holiday, it's a busy Norfolk Broads river. So what we decided to do is, knowing which way the wind was now coming from, which was from our bank to the opposite bank. Bear in mind, at this point, my foot is in a bit of distress, not knowing it was broken. Had to haul up the mud anchor, and we held the mud anchor above water. We drifted with the wind to the other bank, and then we dropped the mud anchor. So we are now firm against the other bank, in a really good safe position now that the wind was pinning us to that bank. So the engineer rings us back, and they asked, did I have oil pressure? I said, no, well, I've got a little bit. It's just under 1 bar, but there's something going on. It's like, fine. Bear in mind, diesel engines are a natural lubricant. It's a heavy lubricant, diesel. if you didn't know how a petrol and diesel engine works. So again, I've got some extra lubrication. And the fact that the engine temperature was completely normal led the engineer to believe it was instrumentation, sensor gone or something. Because the engine apparently was a fairly new engine, only 3 years old, 20,000 hours on it, it's nothing for a boat engine. So we said, look, we're in the middle of absolutely nowhere here. But he gave us permission to restart it, low revs, go get somewhere completely safe, and we would come out and have a look. Happy days. So again, with my busted foot, hold up the mud anchor, and we proceeded low revs to a spit of land. And I say it's a spit of land. It was right in the middle of nowhere. No roads could get to us, but it had 2 mooring posts and one other boat was there. We jumped over, managed to moor up the front of the boat, and we had to use the ground anchors, hammer those into the dirt to secure the boat. Again, it was fairly windy, but it was literally 6 minutes away. And at this point, I'm down to half a bar of oil pressure. So the pressure's dropping still steadily. So anyway, we moored up there, hammered those ground anchors in. My foot was killing me at this point. You can imagine Le Pom was pouring me some serious quantities of rum. And we moored up. We were nice and safe at that point. Le Pom stopped praying. We'll get to that later. Happy days. So we told them where we were. There was no road for them to get to us. So what did they do next? They commandeered a boat. Not from their own boatyard, from a rival's boatyard, and came out to us in their boat. Now that is comradeship. So big hands off and a shout out to Hose Seasons, Herbert Woods, and obviously Richardson's, which is our boat company, for collaborating to come and rescue 2 people that at this point I was a little bit tipsy, and Le Pom had gone off to the cabin to, well, I wouldn't say meditate, but pray, because he was, Anyway, we're in a safe place at this point. Happy days. So anyway, the boat engineers come out, 2 guys, in the commandeered boat, and start it up. Engines run normally fine. Now the engine is actually under Le Pom's bed, which we knew about, because obviously when we had a look around the boat, we were kind of worked out where the engine was, and so we knew in future. So they spent about half hour working on it. They could see the oil under the bilge. They couldn't work it out. They spent half hour with their tools out. Le Pom's room was trashed at this point, absolutely trashed, because I've got the aft cabin. So they spent half hour filling around. They refilled it with oil, and said, right, okay, let's start it up. So they refilled it, started it up. They could see oil squirting from under the engine. And they were like, whoa, what's happened here? So anyway, it turns out, and obviously you can see in the photo, we had actually cracked, somehow, the timing block. Okay, so the timing case cover, which, is a fairly big bit of metal. And that's what that metallic twing was that I couldn't identify when I heard it. That was obviously it pinging there. I was doing 4 miles an hour. You can't speed on the Broads. It was only doing, I think, just over 1,000 RPM, which is, they're designed to rev to like 2,500. So, so at that point they were like, well, lads, we don't have one of those on site. They had a spare old one back at the engineering depot, funnily enough. And we had to get towed, which was an experience, to a safe mooring, which was the rival company's moorings that they stole the boat from. They quite happily would let us stay there overnight while they tried to sort it out. Feel free to watch the videos of that. It's coming up. That was quite cool. I enjoyed that.